A lot of silvers and upper blues in this match. Hopefully it's a good one. I believe Team 2 is OSP. We'll see what they bring in a second. ANS I do have high hopes for. I recognize some of the players on ANS. They might have stacked it slightly, no BM, but we'll see. And opening up, we have, this is a little high for my preference. They're probably going for C, but I believe this is a maximum height deployment right now. Possibly with this number of ships, this might actually be a frigate swarm that wants to go high on the map and just pew pew everything. Frigate swarms right now out of the ANS, a very powerful combination. If you take raiders, maybe even 2 raiders per frigate, it's able to dodge a lot of the fire from OSP. Meanwhile, those 120mm cannons can just shred anything the OSP can bring. There's no battleship. There's no Axford to worry about. Speaking of battleships, here comes a nicely painted one, 450. And that's being played by Starkindler, accompanied by an E-War and Point Defense frigate. Meanwhile, high C, it is, as predicted, the frigate swarm. Let's see if they're all armed the same. Looks like mostly. So this one is packing 250s in addition to the 120s. 250s are good. They can shoot a little bit further, pack a little bit better punch. Not sure really if they are needed, but they're there. Meanwhile, third player's taking a trio of Gunciels, so plenty of 250 and a capping corv. Or this is actually a bullseye corv. And speaking of corvettes, here is a corvette swarm, and it is packing torpedoes. Not a huge fan of torpedoes right now. Not even monitors are vulnerable to 120 AP. That is correct. Yep, nothing the OSP can bring can stand up to a 120. So let's hop over to the other side. Container ship, rocking mostly missiles, a couple of decoys, and a couple of mines. Jucifer bringing a rocket line ship. That's unusual. Have to see how that works out. It is equipped, double drive, so it's certainly fast. Not exactly nimble. It is a line ship after all. Gonna guess this is E-War. Early warning. Another rocket and another rocket. So a flight of rockets, a rocket line ship, and an EWR. Interesting. Meanwhile, these are 450 and just want to double check. Okay, it is in fact point defense pointing the wrong direction. I'm not assuming that is going to be very effective. We'll have to wait and see. And the final OSP packing a pair of 450 Ocellos without jamming. So unfortunately, just based on the fleets brought, going to go ahead and call this for ANS. They have one archetype, which is incredibly powerful, actually 2. We'll go ahead and tack on the 250 CLs with the radar drives. Going to be incredibly difficult for the OSP to deal with all this small caliber, nimble ANS firepower. Let's see how they do. Meanwhile, okay, so this is not both 450s, it's 450s and plasma. Not a huge fan of this certain combination. If you'll see, the battleship not getting touched by any of it. could more than likely actually be sitting out in open space doing donuts, and it would not get hit by any plasma at this range. Toxic stacking. Yeah, perhaps slightly. We'll see how they do. But if I were a betting man, I would definitely bet on ANS. Deployment-wise, Frig Swarm looks like it's going high. I would assume it's seen this left push coming out and wants to drive in the other direction and swoop down, cap, and kill everything at E. It's trusting its battleship to hold this flank, along with the CLs on the opposite apogee. Meanwhile, these frigates look like they are also going to push. How to close HTPR graph? I don't know. What is that? Oh. Okay. So, some missile containers coming out. It's more than likely going to go for the battleship. We'll get snacked on. Control Shift Escape. Interesting. I have no idea what they're talking about. It's going to get snacked on by the battleships. How many mines is that down there? Many. That's the scientific count. Possibly they are going for the CLs? Either way, it's going to be the same story. I'm not sure, actually, if these CLs have been spotted. I don't see it on the radar, but apparently this player knows they're there. At any rate, what? Okay, some some interesting waypointing happening here. Perhaps they did not know the CLs were there, and they're on their way up to the top after some weird zigzagging. Not sure exactly. Meanwhile, some more of them looks like they're going for the sprinter and have missed. That's unfortunate. It does happen, though. Let's see if these containers are able to engage this frigate before it gets behind the rock. Looks like they've cleared it, but the Seekers are going for the active. And they whiff into the rock. Meanwhile, another set headed for this BB. It's having 450 shot at it in some manner. This is clearly without any type of... These might be firing at an early warning track. And here come more containers. Again, going for the decoy. Decoys getting their points worth. And juked. So at this point, it really comes down to how long can the OSP hold on to this 3 cap before the ANS gets their stuff together and decides to pick a direction and flank. Absolutely, they have a firepower advantage. This one BB is equal to this, more than equal to this one line ship. This other line ship, I'm not a huge fan of plasma broadside on a line ship with no other weapons. It really has no benefit if you're firing 450s into a target to hit it with plasma. If you're firing 250s, or especially the 100 millimeter with the Hex C ammo, have a great reason to fire plasma. But if you're taking a fleet like this with 450s, it's almost entirely pointless. You're betting on someone else from your team being able to benefit from plasma, and as we can see here, it's a kind of roll of the dice. Meanwhile, this container ship has been spotted by the frigate swarm. It's had its sun drive shot out, so it is immobile. That is very, very unfortunate. if they decide to push in here, this is going to be a dead container ship. It's already taken big damage to its missiles and other components. RPF, 250, everything being shot into it. Let's go ahead and pour one out for my homie. What is this? The SMS Warwolf. You came, you fought, you got spotted by frigates. Sorry for your loss. Meanwhile, the Ocello's pushing into the battleship. That is perhaps not a fight that they wanted to take. This battleship is more than capable of dueling and winning against Ocellos. A couple plasma hits come out. Meanwhile, the front turrets of this battleship are going to start pummeling this Ocello. It is returning fire, but the Ocellos are no match for a battleship in the armored department, especially if you take this number of cannons and go and tussle. The battleship has cover. The Ocello's way out in the open. This is not a fight they can easily win. Especially considering the ranges involved. I have to assume... Oh, they do have a fire control lock. Oh, that's right. I forgot. They do have access to bullseyes. Which one has it? Looks like neither of them. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Anyway, there is a fire control lock on the battleship, but it is able to much more effectively deal with this 450 incoming damage than these Ocellos are. Any 450 that hits, even on a bow tanked Ocello like this, will plunge deep into the structure and deal damage to the juicy internals. Meanwhile, this bow-on battleship, it can eat the 450 in the front third of its structure. It makes a trade of this fashion unlikely to go well for the ANS player. Meanwhile, these frigates, looks like I missed a rocket rush on these corvettes. One of the corvettes down. Here comes some more rockets. They do strike. That is another mission-killed corvette. But it looks like they are out of... No? Still have 3 rockets left. And meanwhile, no torpedo hits. Here they come. Offensive S1s. Wow. Okay. Need to reassess these. They are not torpedo corvettes. They are size 1 corvettes that just happen to have torpedoes on them. Another rocket hit. Here come more S1s. Looks like they missed that time. This shuttle is now up to speed. It's got a sun drive on it, so it is really motoring. We'll see how these Ocellos are faring. Continuing to take damage. Meanwhile, this battleship looking very healthy. The line ships have decided they are committing to this right flank. They are pushing in on the battleship. Meanwhile, the corvettes, another S1 wave, goes down and takes out that other shuttle. Or at least mission kills it. Is that the CIC? Yes. It does have a restore, though. And they do have that one left. So, unfortunately, unbeknownst to this player, this shuttle is going to be able to necro. If I were it, I would go to D. Meanwhile, Jucifer has snuck his rocket line ship all the way under the map. However, the CLs have broken off to engage it. This CL hanging out down the bottom, biding its time. Not sure what it is planning on doing. The frigates are chasing down this right flank. When they figure out what all is here and that they're behind it, oh, the fire is already coming out, dealing damage to this line ship. And at this point, based on the position of the players, this battleship and this frigate swarm are going to crush these OSP between them. The battleship, it's taking fire, but it's a battleship. The OSP getting pummeled in return. Having this 450 line ship evens up the odds significantly. That will push enough damage to the battleship. It might be forced to take cover. And if that happens, it's unknown if these frigates will be able to catch up. Looks like they're not committing. They are going for B and the cap. Probably the smarter play overall, especially considering the lack of perfect information. The corvettes, looks like they did. Either this burned down, probably this burned down, finishing off that shuttle. These corvettes look like they're on their way to E. These are on their way to B. Meanwhile, this battleship is having this brawl. Shortly to be a 4 cap for the A&S team, and it looks like Jucifer has lost the rest of his missiles. Did fire all of them, pretty much, and fail to score any hits. Unfortunately missed that. So that means this line ship has no choice but to run away from this pair of CLs.
The enemy is securing zone boxes.
Meanwhile, frigate swarm continuing to pummel this line ship. I believe that's its drive. Yep, that is its drive dead. It is dead in the water. There goes its speed, steadily climbing down to 0, and that will allow the frig swarm to kill it in short order. Meanwhile, this Ocello, these pair of Ocellos, along with this line ship, continue to push this battleship. The battleship has taken appreciable damage at this point after that 450 line ship poured its firepower into the fray as well. However, it's still not enough. When this Ocello comes over the ridge, it's going to get a rude amount of 450 into the side. There goes its front turret, its mid turret, also dead. I believe it's lost its magazine, incapable of firing, and there comes the smoke. It is dead. Absolutely not the end that Ocello wished for itself. Turn the corner, eat a whole bunch of 450s from a battleship, and die. Perfect example, by the way, of what a battleship is capable of doing if it does not have to worry about plasma or rocket shuttles or anything else. It will straight up murder an Ocello or 2 in a straight fight. Not even a contest. This 450 line ship, sure, it might be able to dish out some damage when it first opens up, but then it has that enormous reload. Oof, there goes that player. It's gone ahead and noped out. Yeah, so then it has that enormous reload. Meanwhile, the battleship can just pummel it at its leisure. You definitely have to keep in mind... Hey, Dirty Mike, thanks for the follow. You have to keep in mind when you engage with a ship either 450 line ships, 250 line ships, whatever it happens to be. If it has a huge autoloader that it dumps all at once and then it reloads, you want to be somewhere safe when it reloads. You don't want to be out in the open like this. Um, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. OSP only has one combat ship capable left on the field, and it is armed with 32 rockets. So ANS excellently played. The
The enemy
BB
is
holding
securing
this
zone
flank,
clips.
doing an excellent job of dishing damage, not taking too much in return. It probably not on purpose, but the OSP did commit into pushing it, which is absolutely not a good tactical engagement to take. Even if you outnumber the battleship, when it has cover, when it has all the advantages that ANS have, and it's a battleship, you do not want to go into a gunfight with a battleship with a pair of Ocellos and a line ship, even if they um, do land their hits, which certainly this battleship was doing a great job of dodging and making sure that didn't happen. Uh, so unfortunately for the OSP, JD sent me over. Yeah, welcome to have you.
The enemy is
Glad to have you.
zoning
Welcome to
clips.
the channel. Let's try that again. Oof. And insult to injury. Here come more S1s. Why not torpedoes, huh, DXB? Why not torpedoes? Alright, so it's only a matter of the number of seconds before Jucifer decides to surrender here. So, yes, OSP pushing that flank into this. The CL player didn't even have to engage, honestly. It was just the efforts of this one BB and this one Frig Swarm, essentially, which took out the entire team. Certainly unfortunate. This container ship getting caught out can be summed up in a simple sentence, which is OSP no EWR. OSP absolutely need that early warning to spot out ANS as it's pushing, make sure their flanks are okay, not be surprised. OSP does the surprising. Okay, it is the one that knocks. It does not get surprised or it dies, hands down. If they had been able to spot out that frigate fleet, the Ocellos could have tried to go in and engage that. Certainly something other than it coming and collapsing their entire flank might have happened. Let's see. The Corvettes. Corvettes did Corvette things. I like a fleet like this. It definitely did do some work. More importantly than that, it ensures that the ANS will have tons and tons and tons of ships which can cap into the mid game, into the late game. Always a good fleet to have like this. And in this case, they actually managed to do plenty of damage, collapse a flank, well, follow in the wake of a collapsed flank and get some work done. And let's watch here. Here come more S1s. Slamming into this ship. Pow. There they are. Beautiful. Good game. Well played. Yep, so well done to the ANS. Definitely great job to this player, Starkindler. Took on 2.5 fleets by his lonesome with some support. Great job also to Lagoda and this frigate swarm. They made it in the end.